Well, good afternoon. I'm Christina Romer. I'm the class of 1957 Garf B. Wilson Professor here at Cal, and it is my pleasure and honor to welcome the class of 57 back to their 55th college reunion. You know, I have such warm feelings about having been with you on your 45th reunion and your 50th reunion that it really breaks my heart to not be here on your 55th. And there's not much that could have kept me away, but one of them is, in fact, my own high school reunion. Actually, it's homecoming weekend back in Canton, Ohio. And more than a year ago, I agreed to be inducted into the Plain Local School District Hall of Distinction. So that is where I will be this weekend. But I am very sorry to miss you and glad to have a chance to say just a few words to you in way of welcome. Now, since your last reunion, I've had a lot of excitement in my life. I spent 2 years in Washington as chair of President Obama's Council of Economic Advisors. I often tell my students it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was also one of the most rewarding to have a chance to take all that I had studied and taught for my many years at Berkeley and put them into government service was really an honor beyond any I could have imagined. And to be called to help make economic policy at a time when our country certainly had tremendous economic problems was very important to me and something I will always cherish. But I am also thrilled to be back at Berkeley after 2 years in Washington to come back to this campus that is very much home to me and to my husband David was really a delight. And I've thrown myself back into teaching and research. Now, many of you will know that my husband David is also a professor here in the economics department at Cal. And when we came back, he and I created a new course, Economics 134. It's an undergraduate course on macroeconomic policy from the Great Depression to today. And it's been a wonderful experience. Usually, for most of my career, I've taught freshmen and sophomores here at Berkeley. And this is my first time teaching juniors and seniors and have really enjoyed having a more advanced class. We have about 200 students a year. We talk about everything from fiscal policy to monetary policy to budget deficits to financial crises. And even though it's still a big class, we managed to have some great class discussions, and it's been wonderful getting to know the students. We'll be teaching it again this spring at 11 o'clock in room 10 Evans. So anyone from the class of 57 that would like to come, you are always welcome to come see what a Berkeley class is like these days. We'd be delighted to have you. In addition to teaching, I've again gone back to research. I do a lot of my research with David, and he and I have been working on a number of studies about the effects of fiscal policy, things like changes in tax rates or changes in transfer payments, things like Social Security payments. How do they affect what firms do, what households do, the overall economy? And that's certainly something that's very relevant to our policy discussions today. I've also gotten back to studying the Great Depression, having lived through the 2008 financial crisis and the terrible recession that resulted. It's really changed my view somewhat about the Great Depression, and I've been anxious to go back and look at how New Deal policies worked. How were they different from what we tried in 2008? What ways did they work better? What ways did they not work as well? So that's certainly a research topic that I think I'll be working on for quite a while to come. I also thought I should tell you a little bit about how important the support of the class of 1957 Garf B. Wilson Chair is to my research and teaching. You know, one of the great benefits of teaching older students, the juniors and seniors, is often they are looking for research opportunities. And I've been using a lot more undergraduates and in research assistant positions. And they have turned out to be so enthusiastic and so hardworking and have really improved my research productivity a lot. And that's something that those funds from the class of 57 chair make possible. Another way that I've used the funds is actually on technology. In a modern classroom, people really don't use the blackboard anymore. It's all PowerPoint slides. But I was always dissatisfied because, if you've watched one of those presentations, sometimes a professor just clicks through slides and students aren't engaged. Well, what I did was to use some of my funds to buy a very nice tablet PC so that now I can still use PowerPoint slides, but I can be drawing my diagrams and the equations along with the students. And it's so much more interactive and so much more useful. It's the modern equivalent of the blackboard. It's just when the class is all over, you have all the slides and the lecture in digital format that you can then post and students can have it to see going forward. So there's a very concrete way where having that pot of funds from the class of 57 has made a real difference in the quality of my teaching and in the experience for current Berkeley students. So I am incredibly grateful to you and so pleased and honored to have this chair. In closing, I guess one last thing to tell you is just, of course, having the monetary support that comes with the chair of the class of 57 chair matters tremendously. But I think you may not realize how important it is to have the connection to a class. One of the things that I notice is how much more, committed and connected I feel to Berkeley because I've gotten to know so many of you in the class of 1957. I love learning the old traditions and the old stories. It makes me feel part of Cal today in a way that someone that doesn't have that experience just can't do. And so I am so incredibly grateful to you for giving me that experience. While we're talking about traditions, if the men's octet comes and sings at your reunion dinner, by all means make sure they sing Princess Papuli. It is always my favorite, and we'll be very sorry to miss it. Something else, one other thing I have to tell you about a connection to Cal. For the first time, I finally have a child who's now a student at Cal. So my son Paul just graduated from MIT, and when he was choosing graduate programs, his father and I are so thrilled he chose Berkeley. So he is now getting a PhD in chemistry here at Berkeley. So I'm not only a professor now and have this connection to the class of 1957, I'm a mom of a student at Berkeley, which makes me feel very proud and very happy to have him here. So with all of that, let me just say once again, welcome back to the Berkeley campus. I hope you have a wonderful reunion weekend. I will be thinking of you from beautiful Canton, Ohio. And of course, at the football game, go Bears.